Hello everyone, and welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement. On today's video, it's another Midweek-Mini-Mail-Call. And this week, it's really not mini, it's quite maxi. So don't forget that you can click in the description to jump ahead to different sections, especially if you come back to this video and you want to watch more of it later, or you want to skip over entire sections. For the content of the video, there's a good amount of TI stuff, there's some Apple II stuff, and then there's just a bunch of random stuff thrown in. So let's get right to it. All right, we have a package. Looks like it's from Amazon, but I don't think it is. This arrived on August the 15th. Looks like it came from Pettigrew. That's probably a last name. Houston, Texas. Hi to all my viewers in Texas. Using the safe knife so I don't kill myself or cut my fingers off, as everyone is pretty sure I'm always going to do. It's a little awkward because you have to hold the blade out, but it does cut pretty well. We have a note, which we'll get to in just a sec. Let's take a look at what's inside. Okay, so the first thing is something in a Sharp container. In fact, it says Pocket Computer, I think. Oh, very nice. That is a little Sharp Pocket Computer. Now, there's a TRS-80 or Radio Shack version of this little Pocket Computer, which was actually just an OEM of the Sharp one. It actually runs BASIC. It comes with an audio-looking cable with various jacks. I assume this is to connect up like a cassette drive to it. There's a little piece of paper here. And inside here, you have the Pocket Computer itself, and it is mounted into this printer docking station, so to speak. And in here has a power supply connector and a connection, I think, for this audio cable, which comes out like this. And this is the actual Pocket Computer. Look how small that is. And like I said, this thing actually is programmable, has memory, and can run BASIC. Inside the little carrying case, there's also a little bit of paper because this actually has a printer. That's what this part is here. And the case has a weird powder in it. I wonder what that is from. It's almost like a battery maybe has leaked in here. Let's see what's wrapped up in these packages here. It's a kind of rusty and beat up speech synthesizer for a TI99. In fact, here it looks like the actual cover for it. Now what's odd, and I don't know if people who are familiar with the TI can tell me, this is actually broken. So the aluminum color, which is normally silver, is kind of a goldish color. Okay, and it looks like we have another speech cartridge as well. Similarly rough condition. And then this here is, oh, nice. Texas Instrument home computer. This cable has what looks like a joystick connector, and it plugs into your external audio cassette recorder. You have microphone, you have earphone, and then you have one that controls the pause and the play, which are actually the same signals you have right here on the Pocket Computer's little audio cable. It's basically to do the same thing. This is neat because if you recall on one of my previous mail call videos, I got a cassette for the TI99, and I said I had no way to play it because I lacked this cable. So I have it now. Awesome. And let's take a look at the note. It says, Adrian, please find the TI parts and the Sharp Pocket Computer enclosed. Hope you can get them working. Greg. Well, thanks, Greg. Let's take a closer look at this stuff on the bench. So this is the Pocket Computer that Greg sent. Let's take a closer look at it here. So this is the Sharp PC1211 Pocket Computer. And as I had mentioned, this thing actually can run BASIC. So it's got a QWERTY keyboard. Actually has a QWERTY layout. The layout's a little strange. Of course, it is QWERTY, but enters over here. But if the camera is focusing, one of the issues on all of these Sharp Pocket Computers is the LCD screen fails over time. Now, there's actually a guy on the internet, as far as I'm aware, who has gone and redesigned a new LCD panel and had them manufactured in China. And it's a replacement for these that will clear up this fogginess that's going on here. Now, I'm pretty sure if I power this thing up, and I don't think I have any batteries, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that the screen will not work when it's in this condition. Here's the little docking station printer that comes with the device. Now it has a little instruction sheet here on how to slot the computer into it. And then here's a little close-up of the printer. So I think it's a little tiny dot matrix printer, and there's a little ribbon in there. Let's see, I think I can flip this open somehow. There's the roll of paper that you can take in and out. And it looks like we push here and that pops this cover off. I think this is the ink cartridge here. I'm not sure how to take it out, but I think it's this black thing here. So the ribbon will loop around there, and this is the print head underneath there. If you notice, there's actually a battery light on here because this thing, I think, has an internal battery. And yeah, there's definitely something kind of moving around inside. Let me open this thing up and take a look at the battery pack to see what's going on in here, and hopefully it's not a nickel metal hydride that has already leaked out. Oh, there we go. That popped open. Okay, yeah, it's kind of gross in here. Definitely some leakage has happened. So I'm definitely seeing a good amount of signs of corrosion. There's just gunk here. Traces look damaged. Up here as well, there's a bunch of corrosion. So unfortunately, this doesn't seem like this is going to be an easy repair. If you can see on the top here, the terminals on the batteries are a mess and they're all corroded and everything has this horrible sticky film. I'm going to have to wash my hands. And these are NiCads, so very destructive when they leak, unfortunately. Not sure how well this is coming across, but the printer is connected with a sort of ribbon cable and it's just a mess up here. This capacitor looks like it's damaged. I wanted to try to get the printer out because the rest of this needs to be submerged in vinegar to neutralize the heavy base that is the leaky NiCad battery. Fortunately, trying to repair this is a bit too much for a mail call video. As I had mentioned, the Sharp PC1211 was rebranded by Tandy Radio Shack as the TRS-80 Pocket Computer, and here is my example of that. Now, unfortunately, this one is not working either, but notice the LCD screen on the TRS-80 here actually looks completely fine, although there's starting to be a blob up in the corner there. I have not opened up the printer docking station here, which incidentally looks identical to that one, other than the fact that it says TRS-80 here around the printer area, and it's a black color, and on the back it is branded also with Radio Shack. That means that there's a battery pack in here that has potentially leaked as well, which could damage this thing. Although luckily, the damage shouldn't make its way into the little computer itself here. It's sort of relegated to the printer unit. And the fact that the printer might be damaged isn't the end of the world, honestly. If you do end up with one of these and it's in the docking station and you're like, how do I get this thing out of here? Because it doesn't seem to just come out. All you do is sort of push on it, slide it over to the right, and then you just lift it out. Inside both the Sharp and the TRS-80, it does use 4 little watch cell batteries, which unfortunately I don't have. So it's quite possible that if I replace those batteries, that this little computer would work. And if you notice, other than coloring, these two are identical. I do think it's interesting on the bottom of the keyboard here, it says reversible keys. Does anyone know what that means exactly? What exactly does that mean, that reversible keys? Can you imagine trying to write basic programs on this thing? 10, space, print, whatever, wow. But I guess it's kind of cool at the same time that you can write programs on something like this. And of course, when you have the docking station, one that's not damaged, you can hook up an audio cassette recorder to load and save your programs. And while I'm here, I'm going to try to see if I could take the battery out of the TRS-80 one. Maybe it hasn't leaked quite as badly as in the other one. Oh, look at this. I opened it up. The battery pack is gone. And I am thinking that I am actually the one who probably took this out. Yep, quite possible. It also looks really clean inside with no visible corrosion. So if it was me or someone else who took this apart, good work. There's a little blank right here, and the little cover just fell out, so I'm putting it back in. There seems to be some pin headers that are not populated on the circuit board there, so this must have been some type of multi-pin interface, maybe to like a disk drive or serial port, something like that. Just in case you're wondering, I did plug power into the DC input jack on this docking station, and I docked to the computer thinking that that would power this up even though this has dead batteries, and it didn't do the trick actually. This never came to life. Now this may be faulty, and that's why it's not working, or maybe the LCD screen is totally dead, it's just not clouded up like the other one. But yeah, I couldn't get this all working, so it's actually just sort of sat on a shelf the whole time I've had this, which is for a few years now. And yes, of course, the TRS-80 docking station and the Sharp one are completely interchangeable with each other. So cool, hopefully between the two of these, I can get at least one of them working. Greg sent over this TI99 stuff as well. So there was a cartridge and 2 speech modules. One of them has a cover that has come off. Oh, and of course the cassette interface cable. So the speech modules, they're pretty rough. You can see the shield there. It's completely rusted on both sides. This does have the little trap door here. Yeah, it's jammed. This allows you, oh, there we go. Gives you another edge connector so you can actually daisy chain a second external peripheral into the speech module. And in between this rusted part is the edge connector that goes on the motherboard. And then I had mentioned that the aluminum color is this sort of gold. And I don't really get that because every TI I've ever seen that has the aluminum is silver color. And both of these have that same kind of gold color thing going on. I'm not sure how well that comes across on the camera. And then we have an early learning fun cartridge. So it's obviously some kind of an edutainment title. There is a single screw in the center. Let's open this up. I haven't actually looked inside at one of these TI cartridges before. Looks like it's got 2 clips here on the front that you have to kind of prise open. Look at that. This is a GROM cartridge. So these small things are called GROMs. And they do have a 1979 date code. So nice and old. I might just try to clean this up and stick it into the TI and see if it's working. But yeah, this doesn't use a normal EEPROM, even though some cartridges I think do use that. These are special ROM chips that TI made that you can't just simply replace with an EEPROM. Not easily, at least. Not sure how well this comes across on the camera, but the TI chips have the usual late 70s tarnish. And someone in the comment section reported that these have silver on them, and that's why they tarnish like that. Still doesn't ruin the chips or anything, it just looks ugly. All right, let's try to crack open these speech modules. Let's take a look inside. I mean, the rust on the shield, it's not the end of the world. In fact, I might just be able to remove the RF shield entirely. So I always wondered on the speech module, this is sitting up, there's a little door you can open up, and it looked like something could plug in there, but when you looked inside, you didn't really see anything. But now I look here, this has some type of an expansion module here. I suppose maybe you could put expansion ROMs for the speech module, maybe to give it different voices, something like that. I'm not quite sure. Looks like an insect has used this area for a cocoon of some kind. Let's check out this other speech module. Oh yeah, and you can kind of see that it actually has some shine to it still. And check that out. This does not have that expansion port even installed. Okay, this should come apart now. Oh, it's a little rough on the inside. Oops. So there it is. There's the TI speech module. We have a CD-2362A from 1983 and a CD-2501E also from 1983 and one 74LS138 transistor, couple of resistors, diodes, stuff like that. Oh, I just noticed something. I'm trying to get the camera to focus. Let me zoom in. There are 2 chips sitting on top of each other. What? That's a factory setup? What was Texas Instruments thinking? That's very interesting. If anyone knows or is familiar with what exactly is going on here, I can't say I've ever seen that. I'm curious if this second one won't have that second ROM, and maybe the whole idea was that that was something you would buy and it would plug into this expansion connector here. And I took the screws out, so that's sort of, you remove this little plate here. And here is the other unit, and nope, it has both of these chips sandwiched on top, but of course it has this expansion connector. It's got the same CD-2501, and up here it's the 2326s. I mean, these must be ROMs, I guess. Well, I have my silver and working TI99 to try out, and look, I have my speech module. This is the one that someone else gave me that does work in here. And I can see looking in there, I don't have that little expansion header in there. So yeah, I was wondering what this little, what's this trapdoor for anyways? Okay, the TI is connected. Does it work? Yeah, it's working. No picture yet, but there we go. It's working good. First, let's try out this cartridge. This was early learning fun. I'm just gonna write up on here so I know which way to stick this in, because there's traces only on one side, but I don't wanna accidentally put it in upside down. I sprayed a little 99% IPA on these contacts here, and I'm just going to stick this in here. Hopefully I can get this in. You know what? That's a pain. I think it's better if I put this back in the cartridge. Let's give this a try. Will it work? No, it prevents the computer from even turning on. And in case you're wondering, I had it maybe in upside down. I am looking at another cartridge, and it only has the contacts on the bottom, towards the bottom of the cartridge. And I look at the one I just put back together, Early Learning Fun. Same thing, the contacts are on the bottom. And putting this back in here one more time. It's trying to boot up, but black screen. Let's give it one more try. Nope. That would be a non-working cartridge. Now, unfortunately, since this uses GROMs and not EPROMs or ROMs, there's no way for me to fix this. But not all is bad, because I can use this cartridge case. Into this bag here is stuff I got from a viewer on a previous mail call, and here is a cartridge that takes a regular EPROM, and I think this should go perfectly inside one of these cartridges, so I can give new life to this old cartridge case, and I just need to print a new label, and then I just need to flash this with the game or program I want, and I should have a working cartridge. Crack this open again. I just want to see if the hole that's in there is in a compatible spot. Yeah, it looks like this PCB goes right into this cartridge, so it should be no problem. What I find funny about this TI99 cart PCB, which way is up? There's a bunch of silkscreen writing. Wouldn't it have been nice if it literally just said up on here somewhere? Is that too much to ask? For testing the speech module, here's a Microsurgeon cartridge. Let's just make sure my console is actually working with these games. Okay, yep, awesome. Great, so Microsurgeon is absolutely working in this console. First, let's start with the speech module that has this little expansion thingy on it.
Patient is ready for microsurgery, doctor.
Awesome. Okay, so this speech module is working.
Virus.
Okay, that one is good. Let's test out this other one here.
Patient is ready for microsurgery, doctor.
Nice, this one works as well.
Paging Dr. Levine. Virus.
So notice the tint of the silver on the top of this thing, and compare that to the silver of these speech modules. Oh, it might be hard to see in the camera, but yeah, they're just sort of ever so gold looking. If anyone is aware of any cool hacky projects where I can take one of these speech modules, say hooked up to an Arduino to control this thing directly, please let me know. That'd be fascinating to try that out, or maybe wire this up to a different computer like an Apple II maybe. So there we go. Thank you very much, Greg, for sending in the Sharp PC1211 and some speech modules and even that bad cartridge, because I can use that stuff in future projects. Okay, we have a package here. This one comes from Joseph in Schaumburg, Illinois. I've actually been to Schaumburg. I'm pretty sure I have. It is outside of Chicago. In fact, if you fly to Chicago O'Hare, you go the other direction from the airport instead of to the downtown of the city, and you get to Schaumburg. This package arrived on the 15th of August. So today is the 15th of September, if I got my dates right. So I guess I'm about a month behind on opening mail call packages. I sort of let them accumulate. So by the time you see this, it might be a little bit of time before I get this all edited together and you actually see it on the channel. Okay, we have a bunch of stuff here. And we got some deliciousness here, something that's not good for diabetics. Oh, wait, no, wait, okay, I'll get to that in a second. Okay, I'm gonna go straight for the note. I'm gonna mix it up. Hi, Adrian, I really enjoyed your TI99 repair series the other day. I thought I heard that you don't have any ROM cartridges, and I found some and thought I'd send them to you. I hope they work. Okay, that's awesome. That's probably what's in these boxes here. You might have seen on some of my previous mail calls, I've actually got some TI99 cartridges recently, but hey, more the better, right? I bought a TI99 when I was in high school. Some of my friends had TRS-80 Model 3s, I think, and that was way out of my price range. It was. That computer was very expensive. It was more really good for business users or home users, but not a good kid computer. I think the Commodore 64 wasn't out yet, but I could be mistaken. I think my choices were the TI, the Tandy Color computer, Atari 400, and the 800 would have been out at the same time, and the VIC-20. These were all in the affordable range. I think I was at JCPenney with my future wife at the time. Oh, okay, well, I'll say real quick, in case anyone's not familiar with JCPenney, it's a department store in the United States. I'm actually not sure if they're still in business anymore. If they are, they're like literally on the edge of being bankrupt. But it's an old department store chain that was known for being a little bit cheaper than the other ones. So you got better prices there, and they sold a lot of electronics. So a lot of people went shopping to buy TVs, and you could buy clothing, bedding, everything. They pretty much sold everything, but definitely it was a bit better pricing than Sears. Now, of course, I may be mistaken. Let me know in the comment section below. Now, where I grew up in Canada, in Montreal, we didn't have JCPenney, and I don't think there's still JCPenney to this day. You had Sears. That was there, I think. You know, I don't really remember. We had the Bay, that was a Canadian department store chain. Anyways, back to his letter. He says, I think I was at JCPenney with my future wife at the time, and I swear it was on sale for $99 and included a free speech synthesizer. That is right. Texas Instruments was in a big price war with Commodore, especially for the VIC-20. Now, the Commodore 64 might have been out when you were looking, depends what year it was, but it was like $600. The VIC-20, on the other hand, Commodore was lowering the price dramatically on, and TI, which had the much more expensive to make and maybe more capable, but debatable, TI99 than the VIC-20, was trying to beat Commodore or match them on prices, and they ended up lowering the prices. And of course, because of that, TI, or Texas Instrument, they lost millions and millions of dollars. I mean, the whole computer thing, that whole endeavor was a huge loss for them. Meanwhile, Commodore was making money hand over fist. The VIC-20 was a very cheap computer to make by that point. And, you know, anyways, the rest is history. But that sold me, and I bought it on the spot. I wanted to learn programming, and I had an Atari 2600 with a slew of games, so games weren't my primary focus. And the 16 bits seemed like a strong point. I can't believe they were touting the 16-bit thing over its competitors. Yeah, it's technically 16-bit, but that is a crap. I'm sorry. I mean, the TI-9 has some very interesting design choices, but the fact that it's 16-bit, that is not a strong point for that computer. It has so many compromises in the design that any advantages that 16-bit processor could possibly bring to the table are wiped out by the compromised design of that machine. Now, I'm probably starting to flame more with what I just said, but having studied that machine very closely and how it's designed, it's weird, and it doesn't make sense, and it's very inefficient. He did write a Space Invaders type game using sprites and basic animation to understand the techniques, and it played smoothly. Well, that is cool, and that is one thing that the TI had over, say, the Apple II, is the video chip definitely had sprite capabilities, and it was used in the MSX computers. All the first series of MSX computers use the exact same graphics chip as the TI-99. So with a less compromised design of the rest of the computer and that same video chip, you got some pretty amazing stuff out of the MSX line of computers. He couldn't afford a disk drive, so he got an off-brand tape recorder, and my wife hated the noise coming out of it, but put up with it/me. That's awesome. I took data processing, he puts that in quotes, in college back then, and later bought an IBM PC, and I converted myself into an XT myself using clone parts. He worked in the IT department of several major companies and actually owned a computer consulting company, now focusing in software for financial industry. So look at that. He got his start with that cheap $99 Ti and now has a career in computers. It's not that different than my story. I started with a VIC-20 and I'm still working in computers. I mean, besides this YouTube channel where I'm taking apart old computers, I also have a day job, and yes, I work in technology as well. It's hard to believe it all started with the meager TI-99/4A. Anyhow, I enjoy your videos, and the TI-99 Repair Trilogy brought me back lots of fond memories and humble roots. I hope you enjoy these cartridges, and more importantly, I hope they work. Or I suspect you'll be making a video on how to repair them. LOL. Thank you very much. Nice letter. Okay, so let's dig into this. Now, first of all, he sent me some candy, and it's sugar-free. So it's diabetic compatible. He took compassion on me for eating all of that stuff that people sent me. and he sent me some sugar-free stuff. So let's see what this is like. This is Pecan Delight. Crunchy pecans and chewy caramel and chocolate candy. Well, sounds pretty decadent. Now, typically I've had sugar-free candy, and it's just not so good. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad, actually. It's definitely not that sweet. I'm noticing on the package it says made with stevia extract. Now, stevia is a non-sugar sweetener. I actually have some upstairs. I put it in my coffee and whatnot. Now, I don't really care what the artificial sweetener is. I'm diabetic. I like sweet things sometimes, and I'm going to eat them if they taste sweet. It's good enough for me. I don't care if it's yeah, whatever it is, the pink stuff, the blue stuff, the yellow stuff, the stevia, I'll eat it all. It's all good for me because believe me, eating sugar is really bad for me. And the other one is coconut. I'll probably have chocolate on my teeth. Apologies there. Coconut and chocolate. I will try one of these. I am really not a coconut fan. I like coconut flavor in like a Thai curry, for instance, but in candy, no. Like those chocolate bars that have coconut like shreds in them, really not my thing. Just it tastes like I'm chewing on wood, like sawdust. It's kind of weird. Anyhow, let's cut into these cartridges here. I'll use the safe blade. Neat. Neat. Very cool packaging here. All right, we got Alpiner. Alpiner? Is this like a skiing game? Texas Instruments solid-state cartridge. All right, Alpiner. And we have Munchman. And there are two more here. We got Parsec. Awesome. Great game. And we have TI Invaders. So what, Space Invader clone for the Texas Instruments. And there's another little package here. Let's see what this is. Oh, he sent me a bunch of memory. All right, well, like kind of a cornucopia of laptop memory. All right, let me break out the TI and test these cartridges out. Here are the TI cartridges that Joseph sent in. There's 4 of them. He sent some candy in. I've already eaten the other one, so it's gone. This bench scene is actually not being filmed right after I open this stuff, hence the reason this stuff is gone. And there's a bunch of RAM. So laptop memory. So we have 1 gig, 1 gig. This is all the original DDR style memory. 512, 512, 1 gigabyte, 256 megabytes there. 512. Here's 1 gigabyte of DDR2 memory. So you notice the connector looks different than those. 256. Not sure, that one doesn't say. 256 and another 256. So I think, as I mentioned before, when it comes to like this newer style of memory, I have a lifetime supply. I really don't need any more. So thank you very much, everyone, for sending this stuff in. But pretty much everything that's 72 pin and newer, I just don't need anymore. I have so much of all of that memory. Now, older memory, like 30 pin memory modules and earlier, like the actual individual chips, those are very useful to me because I end up using lots of 64K memory in 64s and stuff like that all the time as the chips fail, or 256K chips and that type of thing. Those are a little less common. But yeah, all this newer memory, I think just everyone has a ton of this stuff sitting around. And yeah, for me, I just have a lot of it sitting around now too, because I don't really have a use for it. So the TI cartridges here, we have TI Invaders, we have Parsec, we have Munchman, and we have Alpiner. Now I have a little box here that I've been using to store my cartridges, the TI cartridges, from donations from viewers. It's just amazing. I had none, and now I have this nice selection. Although, but this one here, Early Learning Fund, this cartridge is actually empty because that is the bad cartridge. But anyways, so yeah, I don't have any of these TI Invaders. These are all unique cartridges. So let's test those out on the TI. And just for fun, let me plug in the speech module that Greg sent over. I've kind of partially reassembled it. The little trap door is getting the adhesive removed. I have some WD-40 soaking on it. Okay, so let's start out with Alpiner here. Excellent, the computer booted, great sign. Now, neat, we have a variety of languages here, so we'll do 2 for English. It's nice to hear multi-voice audio on the TI. It really does seem like an improvement over the audio on the Coco 1 and 2, and 3, mind you. The Coco 3 has the same sound capability as the other machines.
Press any key to go on.
Oh, did you hear that? It's got speech. So this is something interesting. So all these mountains on the game Alpiner here, Mount Everest and various mountains. The first one on the list, Mount Hood, that's here in Portland. Mount Hood is the big mountain that overlooks the city of Portland. And 3,427 meters, I just looked it up on Google, 3,429 meters, so that's it. And here's a picture of Mount Hood. It's absolutely a beautiful mountain. Let's see if I can get a full-size picture. Of course, it's a volcano, and it's snow-capped with a glacier on top, and it looks fantastic. And we get to see that all the time here in Portland. It's just one of the things that makes this place so beautiful. But how awesome that it's the first mountain on the list. And yeah, I know the elevation is not as high as some of these, so it's the beginner mountain, but still, I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so I guess we're mountain climbing. Oh boy. It's so cheesy. So here we are. We're on Mount Hood, the first level. Are we climbing? Because, I mean, why is there a tree stump even though we're on our hands and knees? Is that a skunk? Oh, did you hear he stopped? I got skunked.
Beware. Falling objects.
Shoot, I was trying to push over to the right and I fell all the way to the bottom.
Great move, sport.
Great move, sport. I made it to the top of Mount Hood. I only fell once.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. I'm on the Matterhorn now.
Falling objects.
This game is rather amusing, actually.
Beware. Falling objects.
Rattlesnake. Look at the rattlesnake. Look, I'm falling like 1,000 meters.
Move faster.
I have to move faster. Well, thanks. That's kind of insulting with the stuff it says to you. So neat, Alpiner, which has Mount Hood here in Oregon, that works. Next game is Parsec, which of course, I think this is a pretty famous video game. 1982, Texas Instruments.
Press fire to begin.
All right, this has speech as well.
Alert. Alien craft advancing.
Okay, this is probably far better with the joystick, which I'm not using right now. Okay, awesome. Parsec works, and it has speech, so 2 games with speech. I love it. That's making this speech module that much more useful. Next up is Munchman. I think Munchman, is this a Pac-Man kind of clone? Sure looks like a Pac-Man clone, sort of. Guess that's me in the middle here. Are we ready? Interesting. Can you backtrack? Oh, you can backtrack. Oh, I like the pills are TI logos. And what are the ghost ninja stars? Oh, what did I not finish? Oh, I left that little tiny bit over there. Okay, so there's no speech on this game. I gotta say, this game's kind of fun, actually. It's obviously using the sprites of the graphics chip. Yep, this chip, which is a rather old chip, definitely has sprite capabilities. And in case anyone is unaware, the graphics chip that's inside the TI99 is the same exact chip that's used in the MSX consoles, the first ones, MSX1. What are these little things? They look kind of phallic. So there are some pretty impressive games on the first MSX. And, you know, obviously it's one of the things that people say it doesn't have is good hardware scrolling. And yeah, sure enough, it doesn't support hardware scrolling, but it supports sprites and it's pretty capable, all things considered. All right, cool. Munchman is another working cartridge. And last up, we have TI Invaders. There we go, a Space Invaders clone, and we have 2 different difficulty levels, merely aggressive and downright nasty. Why don't we do downright nasty? How do you fire here? Trying to figure that out. Which button fires? There it is. Oh, I really like that, how your damaged ship gets stored in the lower area. Okay, so one thing I kind of like is you can shoot their bullets and actually stop them. So that's a neat little thing. Of course, you have to be perfectly aligned for that to happen. I have to say, for a home computer port, that's not a bad version of Space Invaders. Too bad it's not officially licensed, but hey, that's how it goes. All right, well, this is awesome. 4 working cartridges and 2 that work with speech. Well, of course, my one issue now is that my box is no longer big enough to hold all these cartridges, so I'm going to need to find a different storage solution for my TI99 game cartridges. And here is the sugar-free candy that Joseph sent me. It, like I said before, made with stevia. Coconut, really not my favorite flavor. I like the chocolate, but not so much the coconut. These won't be thrown away or anything like that. I'll keep these for if I have like a little craving for something sweet. I will begrudgingly eat these. But the other ones that he sent, they were sort of a nut with caramel inside. Those were good. And yeah, I've already eaten those. I'm feeling through the packaging and there are 6 candies in here. And when we look at the back, this is actually the nutrition labeling in the US. It's really quite good. The serving size, it says 2 pieces, which is pretty realistic to be honest, because I think with the other one that I've already eaten, I ate those in about 2 pieces at a time. So it's pretty typical. These are relatively large pieces of candy. And servings per container is 3. So if you eat the entire container all at once, this is the amount of calories and whatnot you get. Now, what's interesting about this diabetic candy is you look at the carbohydrates and it does have carbs. Like it has 20 grams per 2 candies, so 10 grams each. But dietary fiber is 1 gram and sugar alcohol is the other 17 grams. The reality is there's actually no sugar, it's 0 grams, and added sugar is also 0 grams. So for me personally, this type of candy is really good. It doesn't actually have much of an effect. It has a little bit of an effect, but hardly any effect on my blood sugar. Now, what sucks is that these are really expensive. Like you go to the store, you only get 6 in a package, and they cost like twice as much or more than if it were regular sugar candy, which doesn't really make sense to me, other than maybe there's the economies of scale where regular candy has a lot more people buying it than this stuff. And then look at this label here, proudly made in America, and then down below, globally sourced ingredients and packaging. Wait, what? So it's made here with ingredients and packaging that comes from other countries. Anyway, thank you very much, Joseph, for the candy, for the RAM, and then, of course, for the extra TI99 cartridges, which are augmenting my growing collection of games. Now, I do intend to build up that multi-game flash card. Is it called the Flash ROM, or is it the Final ROM? No, Final GROM with a G. That's the final one. Flash ROM is the one that uses the SD card and allows you to load games on this thing. I already have all the parts. The PCB was sent in by a viewer. I ordered like the chips and stuff in the card slot. So watch for that in an upcoming video, perhaps when I do the TI99 repair on the other faulty machine that I have that was also sent in. But yeah, then I'll be able to play pretty much most of the TI games. There are some games that are GROM based, and you can't play those without the final GROM with a G. But the Flash ROM one that I have will play most games. In fact, a good amount of these probably are available on there, plus lots of other ones. So watch for that video in the near future. Okay, the next package is international. This one comes from Australia. Hi to all my Australian viewers. I'm trying to think if I've gotten a package from Australia yet. I don't think I have. This might be the first one. This package came to me from Glen in New South Wales, which is the same state in Australia where Sydney is. Okay, I made a bit of a mess of opening this thing. Let's see what Glen has sent all the way from New South Wales in Australia. So let's see here. I got a note, and you can kind of see what just popped out of here. Glenn says, "Hi Adrian, my name is Glenn, and I'm from Australia. I'm a big fan of your channel and always look forward to new videos. I came across your channel while looking for C64 videos to watch and have been hooked ever since. After watching Mail Call number 11 and seeing you didn't have any Syquest discs, I did an eBay search and found some very cheap, which I bought and have sent you. The guy I bought them off says it's a 44 meg one, but as you can see, there is no writing on it. There's no way to confirm this. He also said it's been in his storage for decades and he's not sure what's on it. I've also included a lot of 5 1/4 inch floppies, which I believe are Apple II discs. Cool. I bought these cheap thinking they were C64 games. And no, they weren't, because it didn't say what computer they were for. And the photo and description only showed the game titles, which are C64 titles as well. Yeah, lots of games came out on both systems, right? What gave away that these were Apple II discs were when they showed up, there were a couple utility discs, and there were programs that were clearly Apple II titles. I hope everything I've sent works and is of use to you. Thanks for your content, Glenn. P.S. Sorry about the messy handwriting. That's okay, Glenn. I was able to read your writing. I do struggle with that sometimes, but not in this case. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so yeah, the Syquest cartridge says simply max storage. Now, no way to know what this is. The label that was on here is gone. Well, unfortunately, by the time you're seeing this, it turns out that the Syquest drive I have, it doesn't work. And that's because some other viewers sent me Syquest cartridges as well, and it doesn't read any of them. It has the same failure on all of them. So I won't even be able to test this, whatever this is, if this is a 44 meg or this is an 88 meg, who knows? But that drive I have doesn't work at all. So I do need to get a new drive before I can test this stuff. So cool, let's take a look at this stuff on the bench. So lots of floppies from Glenn and a Syquest cartridge that, as I mentioned, I will not be able to test because I don't have a working Syquest drive right now. Glenn had thought that the discs were Apple II discs, so what I do have is my Apple IIc, which is this is my go-to machine for testing Apple II stuff. I like it because this machine is just so small, so easy to set up. I just break it out, plug a composite video cable into it, and I personally don't even use that large Apple brick that comes with this thing. I just use a regular 12-volt DC power supply, and I built a little pigtail connector here that just simply goes from the DC barrel jack into the appropriate DIN connector that goes in the back of the machine. And while if you look at that power supply that comes with this thing, it's like 17 volts or something weird like that. That doesn't matter. This 12 volt DC brick, which I think was from a hard drive, it looked to be 4 amps. That is plenty. That is good enough. This has a little switching power supply inside that takes the 12 volts from this, and it does what it needs to do to generate all the voltages that are needed inside this machine. So if you are missing your 2C power supply, don't be afraid. Just use a 4 amp 12 volt power supply, and you just buy the right DIN. It looks like an 8-pin DIN female, and that plugs straight into the back of the computer, and you're good to go. I would have just tried to turn this on and been like, it's not working. Well, yeah, I gotta at least plug the mains voltage into the little switching power supply. But yeah, so there's the little pigtail plugged in the computer. I have composite video in the RetroTink. There it is. Turns right on. So Glenn thought that these Maxell discs, which were games mostly, but all handwritten labels, were for the Apple II. So let's just try one out. Here's one called Black Magic on side A. I'm just going to take a look at the disc. It doesn't look in great shape. So to be honest, this may not work. If I hear weird noises or I get disk errors, then I know that there's a problem and I'm taking this out. I'll have to clean this disk drive. Okay, well, it tried to boot and it just immediately crashed. That doesn't mean things are bad. Let's try a different disk first. I was about to try this disk. I thought, oh, Burger Time, and it says Booger Time, but also Karateka. So let's try side A. Disk doesn't look so great. Again, I'm kind of worried about the quality of these discs. It's booting, so this is definitely an Apple II disc. Here we go. Oh, Competition Karate. It's not Karateka, it's Competition Karate. Okay, here's the game with all the typical Apple II color fringing on all the text. This is a very basic looking game. I'm letting the computer play both sides, which is why I'm not pressing anything, and it's still fighting. Yeah, as far as Apple II games go, this one is not super impressive. Let's try Booger Time. If you see sometimes the video looks a little screwy, oh, that just crashed. Oh no, it didn't, it beeped, but it's still loading. If you see the video kind of do this weird split screen, that is the RetroTink, that is not the Apple IIc doing that. That's just, it's the Apple II switching modes, and there we go. So you just did that, that's the RetroTink. All right, there it is. Burger Time's not bad on the Apple II. This game makes good use of artifact color to end up with what looks like a yellow, which is not one of the native supported colors. See how the bun here has a yellow color? So it's obviously mixing the green and the red together to end up with the yellow, but that's great. These are all the artifact colors of the original Apple II, and it looks pretty good, considering this is a 1977 computer, really. I mean, the 2C's not, but this would probably run on the original Apple II or like the Apple II Plus. And yeah, it's pretty good, this game. Oh, good move there. You just smacked a couple of those guys. Oh, I forgot you had a salt shaker that you could fight them back with the salt shaker. All right, another disc here. It says the heist or one-on-one. Let's try the one-on-one on the second side. That would probably be Larry Bird one-on-one. My brother used to play a lot of that on our Apple II Plus. Oh, that's the sound of a disc that is not working. Oh, but it's still loading. Electronic Arts. Nice, the hackers put their little banner on the bottom there. Yeah, Larry Bird one-on-one, just like I thought. Yeah, I never really was into this game, to be honest. It just didn't do it for me. Okay, here's another one. This disc, which looks in good shape, it says Load Runner on side A. So let's go right for that. Good old Load Runner. Oh, Load Runner and Apple Panic, both are on here. We'll hit A for Load Runner. Nice, yes, let's load it up. And here we're going to have the slow fade. Yeah, there we go. I played a ton of this game, and man, did that really bug me. I think this requires a joystick, and if he goes running off to the side without me doing anything, then it's looking for a joystick. Oh no, this is working. Cool. Let me turn the sound up. Sound. When you finish a level or you die, you have to wait for this really slow effect here, and then you have to wait for it to draw again. And I really wish the guys who cracked this game, they would have just taken that out and just have it go straight to the level. Because when you die repeatedly, because it's, you know, this game can be pretty difficult. Oh, I used to get so frustrated at that. Such a slow. The drawing was just mind-numbing. And it looks like on the second side we have Choplifter. That was another game I played a ton of when I was a kid. I think this one requires a joystick because no key I'm pushing seems to be doing anything. I'm going to try another game that I played a ton of as a kid. See if this boots up, and then I will talk about it a little bit. This disc, oh, it's working, cool. Skyfox, Electronic Arts Games. I was really impressed by this game. It works better with a joystick from definitely my recollection. Look at that, 16 megabyte BBS, nice. The Trading Post and the South Pole. Yeah, I was always pretty amazed by the graphics, you know, for an Apple II, for an accelerated stock Apple II. Like, look at this, it's like, ooh, it's moving up and down. I mean, sure, just the little mountains are moving, some of these clouds, but it can do this turning and stuff. And I guess I'm trying to hit this, and there's these floating cities. Okay, so, yeah, so what's happening here is it thinks the joystick is pushed over to the right. I don't have one even plugged in. So unfortunately, that's not going to work. But yeah, that's always how the graphics were pretty good on this game. Prepare to launch. Ooh, look at that. Look at these effects here. Look at that. 60 frames per second. All right, so you have radar, and it's sort of like a dog fighting. You can like switch between different views here. I don't know. I was always pretty impressed by this game, and I played a lot of it, and I had good fun with it too. Okay, I have another game to try here. I'm not going to tell you guys what this is. Let's reboot. Actually, I got to make sure the speakers turned up. Activision presents Ghostbusters! Awesome. So there you go. That's 2 voice sound on the Apple II. If you use 100% of your CPU, things like speech and 2 voice sound, even up to 4 voice sound is possible. It just sounds really shrill. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the joystick hooked up, so again, I think this game's gonna act a little weird without it. But I have one more game to try, and that is this one, and it says Karateka. I noticed the other disc that was Worldwide Karate actually said Karateka on it as well. So it wasn't just me, it did say it. But let's see if this one is actually Karateka. Oh, there it is. Borderbund. Karateka or Karateka? What's the right pronunciation for this particular game? I always said Karateka growing up, but maybe it's like karate for karate? Is it karate or karate? Like, you know, I don't know. There's different ways to say it. Anyways, I played a ton of this game. I hit the space bar and the game just rebooted. So maybe this disc is not good. But the funny thing about this game, oh no, that's weird. It sounded like it rebooted, but it, you hearing that? What is it doing? It's loading the game, and yet it sounds like a reboot. So the thing about this game is it's very slow paced. I don't get what's going on with the Apple IIc without the joystick plugged in. I mean, I'm not pushing anything, and he's just walking. He's going to get killed right here. Anyways, the fighting is so slow. If you're used to, say, Street Fighter II Turbo, and you play this feels like you're playing in molasses. But it is a fun game, and you're methodical about the fights, and it has a storyline and everything, and at the end there's a little trick ending, and it's kind of cool. I played a lot of this as a kid as well. It was fun stuff. All I can do is a low kick, because I can't push up. Uh-oh, uh-oh. I killed him! Look at that! So thank you very much, Glenn, for sending in these games. And as you had guessed, these are definitely all Apple II discs. It's unfortunate for you, these are not Commodore titles that I know you were looking for. And also, thanks for the Syquest cartridge. I will give this a test once I get a working Syquest drive. But until then, this will just sort of sit with my stack of other cartridges and hope for a day when I can test them. There's a package here from John in Jacksonville, Arkansas. Package came in on August the 15th. So we have a note here. Okay, we'll look at that in a sec. Let's unpack this. It's all extremely well wrapped. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here. I can see a little bit of what's in here, but I have no idea. So let's look at the letter. I love watching your channel. I'm always waiting for a notification when you do something new. That's awesome. Thank you. I love everything retro, old school electronics. My favorite years of my life were in the 80s. My first computer was a TI99 4A. Wow, lots of viewers where the TI99 4A was their first computer. I have one still, and then of course he has a 64, an Amiga 1000, 500, 600, 1200, 2000. The only Amiga I don't have is the 3000 and the 4000. I am still looking though, LOL. My wife calls me a hoarder, but I call myself a collector. I'm going to say that I agree with you that you're a collector and not a hoarder, because if I called you a hoarder, I don't know what I would be. I'd be like a hoarder times 10, I think. He goes into some of the stuff that he sent me, so I'll skip this section because we'll open this together in a second. But he goes, last but not least, I sent you a custom-made SID Mania cartridge for the SNES, loaded with actual 64 SID music for those 64 music dance parties. P.S. If the cartridge just shows a black screen, just hit reset and it'll boot. Okay, so before I even get to that cartridge, I have something I have to admit. I don't have a Super Nintendo. I never owned one growing up, ever. I had a NES, and then I think I was playing a lot of computer games after that. And then the next game console I got was actually a Sony PlayStation. So there was a bit of a gap there, right? I skipped over that whole 16-bit generation there with the Mega Drive / Genesis and the Super NES. I never had one. So I still don't have one to this day. Now, up on top of the TV here, this red box here has one of those Mr. FPGA console / computer emulation hardware things. And this has, of course, an SNES core, and I have it loaded with SNES games. So I have access to games, but just not on the real hardware. In fact, right here, some of you may notice this controller looks like an SNES controller, and it's made by Buffalo, but actually, this is a USB version, and it plugs into the Mister. So when I'm playing SNES games, I have a more authentic feel. That sucks that I have no way to try your 8-bit dance party. He goes on to say that he has more to send, so don't be surprised if another package shows up in the future. Awesome. And thanks what you do for us viewers. Stay safe, healthy, and patiently waiting for your next video, John. Thank you very much, John. That's a really sweet note. Okay, let's just dig into these packages. This one here says external hard drive. Oh, this is actually not a hard drive. It's the SNES cartridge. And no, wait a second. It's an SNES cartridge with a USB port on it, and it's really heavy. So I assume that this actually has a hard drive in it. If this is an external hard drive, this is the coolest external hard drive that I have ever seen. An SNES cartridge with my own banner on it. How awesome. Okay, actually, and here is a USB cable. This is probably for the hard drive because this type of thing, you may be wondering what the heck is going on here. So this is a mini USB, and this was common back in the day. I remember seeing this. So that plugs in like that. And then there are two USBs, and you're like, what? What's happening here? Well, that's because one of them has the data and power. But in case your computer, for instance, is only giving 500 milliamps and is not enough to run the hard drive, you plug in a second one. You basically take power from two USB jacks on your computer to get 1 amp of power, which is enough to run the hard drive. Okay, next up, it looks like he has sent me some PCMCIA or PC card. This was a Wi-Fi card right here. And it looks like another Wi-Fi card, another D-Link one. This one here actually has Ethernet on it. Oh, this is handy. So this has an RJ45 jack on it. Now it's still a Wi-Fi card. No, 10100 fast Ethernet. Thank you. This is great. So the problem with these Wi-Fi cards, and I think I have one or two of these, maybe not the exact one. None of these Wi-Fi cards work on my network at home. I use, WPA2 AES encryption, so like more modern stuff. And I also have fast roaming enabled. I use Ubiquiti access points. So fast roaming allows me to go around the house between APs. And my clients that support it, which is everything except for Apple devices, so all my Android devices, all my PCs, laptops, stuff like that, it can switch between access points instantaneously and drop no packets. So I can walk from the street to the farthest corner of my backyard while I'm on a conference call, for instance, and I have no interruption. But unfortunately, when you turn on fast roaming, it breaks compatibility with older devices, especially ones that are really old that just barely support the encryption you're using. So even if this supports WPA2, this may not work. So what's really handy for me is those old laptops I have, like the Panasonic Toughbook, has no Ethernet, has no Wi-Fi, and I can plug this in and copy a bunch of stuff onto like some games and stuff. All right, well, in this package here, this is obviously RAM, and then this one says, yes, more RAM. And then here it says more RAM, and then yes, RAM on that one. RAM, just RAM on that. And then finally, this one says, got RAM with a question mark. I'll open these in a second on the bench, but I do have to say, I really appreciate everyone sending me memory. I basically have more memory than any one person on Earth needs right now. All right, let's see what's in here. Oh, look, this is another SNES cartridge. How cool, and it's clear. All right, and here are the UV bulbs that he was talking about. Oh, there's a little ball of mercury that's rolling back and forth in there. This would be maybe like a germicidal UV lamp, something like that. Oh, there's one more little package here. I was just about to say, let's go to the bench, see what's in here. 1541-2 flash drive. Oh, cute. Okay, it's literally a USB thumb drive that has a 3D printed case that looks like a 1541-2. All right, now let's take a look at this stuff on the bench. Let's take a look at the RAM first that John has sent. It's going to take me a little while to cut through all this packaging, so let me quickly do that and jump cut. And there we go, it's all open. Let's start with the oldest memory. So right here is 30-pin memory, and I can tell right away by the part number that these are 1 meg memory modules, and they have the parity RAM installed. So that's actually kind of cool. So what I like to do is I like to just draw a number 1 on the back to tell me that these are 1 meg modules, because once I figure it out, why should I have to go through that effort again when I'm looking in my parts bin to go, is this a 256 or is this a 4 meg or 1 meg or whatever? So I put a 1 or I put whatever the capacity is. Next up, we have 72-pin RAM. And to figure out the capacity of these, I happen to have the little cheat sheet here. And you just look at the little solder bridges that are on the RAM, and then I just check on this chart here. This will tell me exactly the speed and the type of memory that it is. And for the configuration jumpers, it's short, short, open, short. And on the chart here, that would be 4 megabytes, 80 nanoseconds. Now, weird is this is definitely 60 nanoseconds. Actually, this is 70 nanoseconds, and this one is 60. And yet, both of these are configured for 80. So I just like to write a 4 on the chip. And again, that is so when I go looking at my parts bag, I don't have to fish around. I know right away those are 4 megs. So next up is this stuff, which is PC100 or PC133. It is the same connector. And yeah, it's not as easy to tell. This is like says PC100 right here, but this doesn't tell us what the capacity is. So I'd almost need to get out a motherboard and test this stuff out. I actually don't have a PC100 motherboard handy. I have to take a computer apart to get to it. Next up, we have DDR. This is PC2 memory, and yeah, 1 gig, 1 gig, 2 gigs. Looks like this RAM is actually kind of mixed up. So let me just do a quick sort. Okay, I properly sorted these piles. So the middle pile here, this is DDR1, or just DDR memory. This stuff is DDR2, and this is DDR3. Now, DDR3 is super modern. I mean, I think my lab computer uses this. I have multiple computers in the house that use this stuff. Like, obviously current stuff is DDR4, right? Like my AMD Ryzen rig upstairs. But a lot of the things from just a handful of years ago are on DDR, this older DDR3 stuff. And it looks like there's a 4 gig, 1 gig, 1 gig, and a 1 gig. So yeah, not a lot of memory. So yeah, so anyways, there's the RAM. Let's take a look at one of these mercury-filled UV bulbs. There's a little ball of mercury that rolls back and forth. If you go to Wikipedia and check out the article on fluorescent tubes, but that's all this is. It's a fluorescent tube, and the gas mixture that's in here is specific to creating the right UV wavelength. And normally fluorescent tubes have phosphor on the inside of the glass, and the UV that's generated hits the phosphor, and then that generates the visible light. Well, this is lacking that, so this just generates UV, which is good for, say, erasing EPROMs. It does say lamp emits UV radiation, which may cause eye skin injury. Avoid exposure to eyes and skin from unshielded lamp. And actually, it says it's a GE germicidal G4T5 4-watt bulb. And there's the little HG symbol for mercury. So that is saying that this definitely has mercury. And according to the wrapper here, it says that it's made in Japan by General Electric. So maybe these are legit bulbs, and these are not some sketchy Chinese knockoffs, although I don't know how you can tell if these are fake. Now I'm going to do a little experiment here. I'm going to turn this on so show you what the bulb looks like. Do not do this at home. This is dangerous. I'm only going to do it for a couple seconds. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to look away from this thing. And here we go. So I know the bulb is working because I did see a little out of the side of my eye. I could see sort of a bluey color coming out of it. I'm actually thinking right now that I want to switch this bulb out. I mean, this says GE on it, made in Japan. I trust that a little bit more than this totally generic one that has absolutely no writing on it whatsoever. So I think I'm going to desolder these connections and I'm going to swap this bulb out. Look at the original bulb that's in here. Like the ends are sort of not even on straight. They're all crappy looking. So the filaments there do not look so great. There's sort of some sputtering that looks like it's been going on. So maybe this thing wasn't long for life anyways. And there's the new GE bulb installed. Let me just put this thing back together. It only takes a moment because there's so few screws. So it's back together and I plugged it into the main. So there's a little window right here in the drawer, and that does allow you to see the UV light. So when I'm running this, I turn it away and I don't look at that, but at least I can tell that the bulb is on. So let's see if this new replacement bulb does work. It does indeed. I see blue light coming out of there. Let's do a little test. I am looking into the camera screen and not at this thing. Let me turn it on. So when I turn this on, see the little filaments heat up. That's the starter. And then there is the UV light being generated by the bulb. So let's take a look at this NES cart that he sent me, which he said has SID music on it. So looking inside at the chip that's there, it's going to be hard to see, but I can read that it's a 27C801. So that's an EEPROM. So I don't know if that's an original PCB that was used in the game, and then he just switched out that for an EEPROM, which was flashed. And is this cartridge a real cartridge, or is this actually like a reproduction? I see here it says, hello and welcome to SID Mania. So clearly this is something that runs on a real NES, but it plays actual SID music. Now I wish I had an actual SNES to try this out on because SID tunes are awesome. And I'm very curious to hear how close the SID music is on Super NES sound chip to an actual SID. In fact, if someone can point me towards where I can download this, I can try it out on my Mr. FPGA system so I can at least hear what this is supposed to sound like. But this whole cartridge is really nice, and on the spine here, it says SID Mania by Sensor. So yeah, awesome. And I like the clear case too. The whole thing is pretty awesome. This leads us to our next NES cartridge. This is the NES 500 gigabyte external hard drive cartridge. In fact, Adrian's Digital Basement, 500 gigabyte SNES hard drive right there. This is back when I had 80,900 subscribers. I think I'm at just under 84,000 as of the recording of this. So the channel is slowly growing, and I had just put up the Midweek-Mini-Mail-Call number 12. Well, and part 2 of my German donations here. But yeah, so this video is probably going to be mini mail call number 17. So you can tell that a little bit of time has passed since I've opened this. You can see this picture here that's under my logo. That's actually a PET 4016 motherboard, one I was repairing on one of my pets, and that's what's on the banner picture. If anyone's ever wondered what that picture is, it's from a Commodore PET. And yeah, obviously this is a real Nintendo cartridge. Originally it has a Nintendo logo there. It's got those Nintendo screws you need a special bit for. I don't think I have, so I can't even open this up. But there's a couple Phillips screws there, and let's give this thing a try. So I'm going to plug this into this laptop here, this Dell laptop. It's kind of a throwaway computer. It's not one I actually use. In fact, I don't even have my Microsoft account on here or any kind of Google accounts. It's not that I don't trust John or my viewers, but it's just really good practice that if you're getting a USB device that came from someone that you don't personally know and necessarily trust, then you shouldn't just randomly plug it into your computer, because you never know what one of these things is. It could have a keylogger on it, could have malware, could have all sorts of things on it. So it's just good practice to use a machine that doesn't have your personal data and your personal accounts on it, just in case. You never know, right? Better safe than sorry. Oh, it spun up. I can feel the hard drive spinning inside here. Sorry for the horrible reflection. This is a glossy screen laptop. I don't know who thought that a glossy screen, especially one that doesn't have anti-glare coating, was a good idea. I mean, look at the reflection on this thing. It's absolutely silly. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so there we go. It says for some reason it's got 110 megabytes of used space and 466 gigabytes of free space. It does show that some space is used up by system and log files, but I guess that's just normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use diskpart, which is the partition utility on Windows here. I'm going to list the disk, select disk 1, which is this external drive, and I'm just going to clean it, which basically just completely wipes the disk entirely. It has no more partition map on it. And now I can plug this into my lab computer there, and I can partition it and format it in TFS and whatnot. And this is the little thumb drive that he sent along. So it's a 1541-2, and it's 3D printed. Or is it? No, maybe not. No, this looks 3D printed and then painted. Yeah, because I could see the lines underneath there. So I would be very curious to find out how this was made. Like, what exactly is the thumb drive that's underneath here? But I do kind of love the way this looks, that it's a little Commodore disk drive. So let's plug that into this computer. Yeah, cool. And it's a 64 gigabyte thumb drive, this little Commodore floppy drive. That's probably far more than every single Commodore game ever made. It would all fit on this one thumb drive. So I'm just going to do the same thing, and I'm going to clean the drive off in this computer with diskpart. There we go. And now the Panasonic Toughbook. I want to test out this Ethernet card that he sent me, and this has Windows 98 on it, which should hopefully support this particular D-Link card. Well, I got to hand it to D-Link. Their website still has the product page for this. It does say end of sale. So let's click on support, see if I can get the driver. Drivers from 2001. Okay, well, that's old enough that 2001 drivers are going to work on Windows 98 because Windows 98 was only a few years old by the time those drivers were released. The drivers finished copying onto this floppy, so we'll stick this in. And when I hit automatic, it should scan the floppy drive and hopefully find the drivers. Okay, it's giving me a choice of a couple different ones. I guess I'll pick this one here. Oh, no, wait, that one's newer. Boy, I don't know which one to use here. There's two on here, fast Ethernet. Okay, whatever, I don't know, I clicked one of the two. Anyone who has used old versions of Windows, this is going to be a flashback. Banyan Vines. That was an old product. IBM DLC protocol. Microsoft, of course, we got the various things here, and we have some Novell IPX ODI. TCP IP. Well, that's lame. Let's see if that actually installs and works. I'm not sure what's going on there. Insert your Windows 98 CD. Well, if you've ever used Windows 98, you need to make sure you copy the Windows 98 onto the C drive, and I just need to check where it is, but it should be C:\Win98, I think. Those are the installer files. Otherwise, you're going to need, there it is right there. Otherwise, you're going to need to put the CD in every time you do something like this, install new drivers. So we're going to delete the D, and we're going to replace it with the C, and we hit OK, and it should be able to find everything it needs to get the networking up and running on this thing, hopefully. Well, it took a while to install the drivers, but I heard the right little beep sound, and it says it's installed. Of course, is TCP actually installed? Let's hit the reboot and find out. Okay, so the drivers finished installing. I'm just rebooting. It seems like there's a problem, though. So the card is out right now. Windows is booted up. Everything is fine. It's working normally. If I put the card in, the computer... Oh, okay, you heard the beep. It detected it. And now the computer sort of locks up. It doesn't completely lock because the mouse pointer is still moving. I was in the menu there. And it will sort of be frozen like this. And I think if I pull the card out, it maybe unlocks. Maybe, maybe not. No, it doesn't unlock. It's still frozen. So yeah, something is the matter. And in fact, if the card is in while I boot the computer, it just freezes and never even makes it into Windows. Oh, look, it actually did unfreeze. Nope, it froze. It unfreezes for a second and then it refreezes again. So the computer is totally unresponsive now, and it will stay like this pretty much forever. And if I do Control-Delete, it will give me a message here. It says waiting for closed program. So I push escape, and it says message server 32 not responding. So if I just hit cancel, okay, well, so it gave us the card remove sound, and now the computer's unfrozen. I'm just going to try the other lower card slot here. Can't imagine there's going to be a difference. There's that two-tone beep, and it just does that same problem. So clearly either there's something wrong with the install on here, or there's something wrong with the card bus controller, or there's something wrong with this card, or there's something wrong with the drivers. in typical Windows 98 fashion. It's very hard to troubleshoot. And I am not going to do that on this mail call video. I will do this at another time. If anyone recognizes these symptoms, feel free to comment in the comment section below. Let me know what might help this. But yeah, this is Windows 98 2nd edition, Service Pack 3, whatever the latest one is. And I've never used a card bus card in here, so what can I do? It doesn't seem to be working. Thank you very much, John, for sending in this interesting assortment of stuff. I am going to still try to find a way to try this cartridge out. But yeah, awesome. Thanks very much. All right, and we have a big package here that's quite heavy. This big box comes from Mark in Butler, Pennsylvania. Hi to all my Pennsylvania viewers. All right, well, this seems like it's full of stuff. There is a note on the top here. Dear Adrian, hope this finds you well. We have never talked, but I have enjoyed your YouTube channel for several years now. As a big fan of vintage computers and video games, the entertainment from your videos has been much appreciated. My first computer was a TI99, and my first PC compatible was a Tandy 1000HX. I also had a TRS-80 in the middle, and additionally I had a couple friends with Commodore 64 systems. It is great to see upgrades available and new components being made. I have thoroughly enjoyed all the content you have created on these systems, and I recently went through my stash of old computer parts. Not sure if you could use anything here, but feel free to keep what you can and trash the rest. I thought some of the memory chips could be of benefit to you. Best regards, Matt. All right, let's take a look at what we have in this rather large box. Right on the top, we have a TI99 BA2 Plus. I'm very unfamiliar with calculators. Oh, and then next, here's the manual for the BA2 Plus. All right, what's this? Looks like we got a tablet of some kind. Oh yeah, okay, so it's an outer box case and some kind of a Galaxy tab, something or other in there. I think we have lots of tablets because this appears to be some kind of an iPad in a case, maybe an iPad 2. Unfortunately, it has a crack in the screen and the battery is dead. And this is probably another iPad, and it looks like it is another iPad 2 or somewhat of that generation. No broken screen on this one. Some Apple earbuds. These are the later ones. They're not really comfortable for me, but you know what? In a pinch, if you just need to listen to something, they're better than $2 China earbuds. Next, we have a little bag full of some retro goodies. What, like USB to PS2 adapters, and also, what's this, like PS2 to serial adapters, and just some other PS2 type adapters in there. We just have a random like interconnect cable from something. We have a USB thumb drive that looks like a beer can. Some RCA cables. We have an IDE cable that's skinny and not huge. External USB hard drive enclosure with the power supply. A couple nice random compact flash cards. These are quite useful because these are low capacity. One is 32 megs. Can't quite tell what the other one is, but these small ones are really useful inside those XT IDEs and also the compact flash IDE adapters. Some older computers just don't like to work with larger cards. A couple random Microsoft CDs like Windows XP. We have a book here called the Data Communications PAL. Anyone know PAL Publishings? This appears to be what you would get if you were like studying networking or low voltage. Has like pinouts from all sorts of things. These were essential back in the day because you didn't have the internet to just look stuff up. This appears to be some kind of, it's got F connectors, coax connectors on here, multimedia drop amplifier, 54 to 1000 megahertz passive return. Oh, you know what? This just appears to be some kind of a power amplifier, although I wonder how you power it. I don't quite see. I wonder if this is used for satellite dishes because the satellite receiver actually puts power over the coax to both power the LNB, that's what converts like the high frequency satellite signal down to a frequency that your coax can carry. And I think it's enough to also power things like this to amplify the signal potentially. We have 3 boxes of pocket CD-RWs, which I think are like little miniature CD rewritable discs. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it looks like he has sent us along a PCI 100 megabit network card from 3Com. Here we have an eBay branded USB power bank with some very strange connection types, but okay. Looks like a CD for the network card. Ah, interesting. Here we have a dual format DVR. You plug these in your computer and you can record over-the-air broadcasts. It looks like analog as well. It might have a ability to have a composite or S-video input, but it supports ATSC, which is the type of digital signal we have here in the United States. We have what looks like a splitter for plugging your phone in. This appears to be perhaps like a fan controller. Quite a lot of wires here, but this is definitely goes inside your computer case. It's got a screen of some kind here and it says speed, mode, and set. So I'm assuming this is a fan controller to control the speeds of multiple fans. Looks like here we have a couple more PCI network cards. This one appears to be a PCI Wi-Fi card. And here we have a couple AGP video cards. This AGP card is STB Systems. Remember those guys? I don't know if they're still around anymore. And this one is a TNT2, so an NVIDIA card, an early NVIDIA card. This is some kind of a low-end PCI Express video card. It's got HDMI on it, so it tells you it's relatively modern. We got a whole assortment of RAM here. Oh yeah, a bunch of RAM. Here's a 2.5-inch to 3.5-inch hard drive adapter. And we got a couple more Windows CDs. Looks like Office or something. And what's this? Some kind of a little Netgear switch. Oh, and this looks like a 16-port gigabit Ethernet switch. All right, cool. That was quite a lot of stuff here. It's not generally retro, but let's take a quick look at this on the bench. Maybe there's some interesting stuff in here. These are the 3 tablets Mark sent. So it's 2 iPad 2s. The black one here has a crack in the screen, although not the LCD, just the top glass. There's a Galaxy Tab 3 as well. Now I charged these all up. As you can tell, they are booting. These 2 iPads are 64 gigabytes each, and the Samsung tablet, I'm not quite sure. I just set these up very quickly. This one has a bad button here. You have to turn it on by the top. So both these iPads are working, even though this one has the cracked screen. The digitizer is still good. The question I have is, what exactly can I do with iPad 2s? I know they don't receive software updates anymore. Let's just quickly check what iOSs are on here. iOS 9.35 is on both of these iPads. And this Galaxy Tab, it does work, but it has a pin, unfortunately, on it, and I'll need to reflash the firmware, I guess, to get rid of that. I can't log into this. Now, I've had issues with these types of Samsung tablets. I think this is equivalent to like a Galaxy S3 or S4 maybe. So it's pretty old. And I use a Wi-Fi configuration at home here that doesn't seem to work with older Samsung devices. I had some other tablets my friend gave me, and I just couldn't get them connected to Wi-Fi. It just would not work. These iPads have no trouble connecting, even though these are from 2011. Well, I think Apple actually sold these until 2014 or so. But this Samsung tablet, I just don't know. Anyway, if you have any suggestions on what to do with these things, let me know in the comment section below. Texas Instruments, BA2 Plus, Business or Advanced Business Analyst. Batteries are dead in this. Oh, no, they're not. Look at that. It actually works. The condition of this TI calculator is nice, but I am not a big TI calculator fan. I've just never been. HPs, on the other hand, I do like, and the really old stuff with LED screens, that's very cool. But LCDs like this, meh, I'm just kind of ambivalent about. Looks like we have some kind of a Wi-Fi card here. Yep, some PCI Belkin Wireless G PCI card. This bag here, we got some small compact flash cards. I definitely really like this. Oh, 128 megabytes and a 32 meg card. Like I said earlier, these are very useful when you're using them in PCs, older PCs that have compact flash to IDE adapters. Older PCs have trouble supporting over 504 megabytes. So sometimes if you don't want to use an XT IDE, you really just need to use small compact flash cards like this, and it's much easier to get those working. Pocket CDRs. These are something that I just never had experience with back in the old days. Looks like 2 of these have been used, but they give you little tiny mini jewel cases. And let's pop one of these open. And yeah, this is just a little CD-RW. Sorry, it's not a CDR, CD-RW. It means it is read-writable. You can stick this in an optical drive, write to it, erase it, write to it again, do that as much as you want. And looking at the box here, this is good for holding 210 megabytes, 4 times write speed, and you could also write 24 minutes of CD audio music directly to this. I'm really not sure what the use of this was, other than it just being a novelty that it's smaller than a regular 5-inch CD. These weren't any kind of replacement for something like a zip disk at the time, because writing to an optical disk, even a small one like this, it's just really a slow process. There's calibrations and all sorts of things. You can't just use this as an interactive disk and read write to this very quickly. It's just overall a pretty slow process. Now, there were ways to use these as hard drives, so to speak. I mean, Windows would show it as a drive letter. You copy stuff onto it on and off, things like that. But it was not efficient. It's slow and just, I don't know if anyone ever used that process to interactively write to disks like this. If you did personally, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section, but I know every time I tried doing that, it just didn't work very well. It's still neat to have these though, 2 unopened boxes and then 3 extra disks, because when you do write to these, just for a quick file transfer or whatever, from one machine to another that's only got optical drives, I can erase it. It's not a permanent thing that I just have to throw the disk away when I'm done. There's a little assortment of cables here, USB and RCA, stuff like that. So that's useful. Go into my cable bin. People may remember these things from back in the day. This is an external USB 2.0 hard drive enclosure. So you can open this thing up and stick a regular 3.5-inch hard drive in here. And then there's a USB A port. Is that A or B? B, I guess it is. You plug that in and you can copy files on and off the computer pretty easily. It comes with a little power supply, which is probably 12 volts. It is. There's a little buck converter or something in here that converts the 12 volts down to 5 volts for the hard drive. But I used to have a whole bunch of these, and I don't so much anymore because it's not super useful to use these. I have that little adapter you just plug into a hard drive temporarily, a little power supply, enough to copy files on and off of it. This was back in the day when you could make your own external hard drive using an old IDE hard drive. That's probably what's in here is IDE, not SATA. Who doesn't love these types of little adapters? They really come in handy. There's a nice little assortment here. What we have that I didn't already have, actually, this looks like 2 USB to PS2 adapters. So you would plug this into the back of your computer to the PS2 port, and then certain mice that were in that transition period, the USB cable on them could actually detect when you use this adapter, and it would then talk PS2, and this would route it to the correct pins. This is a very similar thing, but this is in the older transition, so it's PS2 input, serial output. So this would plug into your serial port and would allow your PS2 mouse to talk serial. So it would detect the adapter. And then this is another direction. So this plugs into the PS2 port on the back of the computer and allows that transition period serial mouse to talk in PS2 protocol to the computer. Now keep in mind, these adapters are passive. There is nothing electronics in here. There's no conversion going on. So I can't use this, plug it into a PS2 port, and then say plug in a modern mouse. That does not work. The mouse has to be able to detect the adapter and speak both protocols. There are 3 unused D-sub 15-pin connectors here. That's helpful. I have a box full of those. I'll throw that in there. 2 of these floppy adapters. This goes from 34 pins to an edge connector. Now these were once very common and they're hard to find now, but again, now that I'm sort of using Gotex on retro things, I'm finding these useful again. This is what I presume is a satellite TV splitter. It says multimedia drop amplifier. So these are all F connectors here. And there's no power input in this thing anywhere. There's a ground terminal right here, but that's it. There's just F connectors. If you recognize this thing and I'm off base with this, let me know in the comment section. So this is an assortment of adapter cards for IBM PC compatible. So we have 2 AGP video cards, a PCI Express. It's a 16x slot, but looking at the tiny little heatsink on this thing, this cannot be that fast. It does have HDMI on it, so it's got to be relatively modern. These 2 are AGP, so they are older, but they're sort of in that transition period between PCI and then PCI Express. We had this AGP for a little while. I was moving this AGP card and I noticed something strange. It has an audio in jack and a line out jack. And I think what this is a video card that has hardware DVD MPEG-2 decoding. It says on here Nitro DVD, so I'm assuming this has some hardware MPEG decoder in it. Now, what kind of chipset's on here? I can't tell because it's got this heatsink glued on there. But I am assuming this line out goes to your sound card, and this card actually decodes the MPEG-2 audio because computers that were out around the time DVD launched, they were not powerful enough to play MPEG-2 and decode the AC3 audio and all that stuff. So you needed assistance with cards like this or PCI cards that went alongside your video card. This is one of the type that's integrated. There were both types at that time. So that's actually kind of interesting. I might have to check this out. And here are 2 PCI network cards. One's a 3-COM, so that's nice. And then we have another wireless card, although it's missing the antenna. Some of my Pentium era machines are PCI slots, so these network cards are actually useful for those. And here is that DVR card. So the WinTV HVR 1600 hybrid video recorder. This can let you watch high definition ATSC digital TV on your PC along with analog cable TV as well. Includes a remote, seems to have an IR blaster because it probably has AV input so it can control your set-top box and your satellite, and probably has a DVR functionality. By the time this card came out, I think PCs were able to decode the MPEG-2 video stream themselves. They didn't need assistance with a decoder on the card, but this card may have hardware decoding. It does say here that it's only for over-the-air broadcast. It cannot receive cable TV digital broadcasts in the US, which use a different encoding scheme. They don't use ATSC. They use, 64 QAM or 256 QAM or something like that. It does say right here that it includes a MPEG 1 and 2 hardware encoder on board for recording analog TV to disk. So hooking up an analog source of this would do all the grunt work of encoding that video at a high bit rate, and then it just has to save it to your hard drive. So the over-the-air broadcasts are already MPEG-2, so that just streams that straight to your hard drive. But it does have an encoder. That's nice. The last line does say it uses an MPEG-2 decoder in software. So you need to have a computer that's either fast enough or a video card like this one, actually. This card would do the trick. It would do the hardware decoding for you, so you could play that video without any load on your computer at all. Let's open this up, see if it's got everything. Looks like it might never have been used. Look, there's a set of batteries in here. Here's the remote control, still sealed in the bag. It says it has a QAM tuner, actually. Why can't it receive cable TV if it's got QAM? Interesting. But as usual, it's got a Connexent chip here. I think this is the MPEG encoder, although it could be one of these other ICs. But right here, what's going on, there are two tuner inputs. There's probably one for ATSC, and there's probably one for regular analog. And then we have a multi-pin connector here, which probably is the analog video in going to your set-top box. And then there's a small TRS jack here, which is for this, which is the IR blaster to control your set-top box or your cable box. And inside the box, there's some software, a little bit of manuals, a little adapter here that goes from S-Video to RCA, so that allows you to plug in a composite input. There's probably extra pins there, I would hope, or something. Or maybe not, maybe it just hooks up to the Luma signal. On a previous mail call, I got a similar card to this, but it was one from Europe, so it could receive PAL signals. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this one, while it can only receive NTSC-style over-the-air broadcasts, the video input, the analog input for the video, probably can decode PAL properly. I have an old first-gen Core i3 computer. It's got PCI slots. I'm probably going to set that up with Windows XP so I can put these types of capture cards into that machine so I can do video captures and see how that works with regards to my videos. Here is a staggering amount of RAM. Let's just dump some of this out here. Oh, look at that. A Sony memory stick. Anyone remember memory stick? It was Sony's proprietary memory card format that they decided to do for their cameras. And I had Sony cameras back in the day. These were such a pain. They were more expensive than SD, and yeah, anyways. And so here we have an assortment of RAM. So we have 72 pin. We have a PC 100. This is original DDR memory. This is a big pile of DDR2 memory. Gosh, I can't remember even what DDR2 is used in. And then there are two memory sticks here that I just don't recognize. Look at this strange connector on here. There's all these pins that are missing and heatsink that says hot on here. And so what is this stuff? Is this like a Rambus RAM or something weird like that? It says 128 megabyte ECC. So if you know, please comment in the comment section below. This is that fan controller, so I have it plugged into a power supply. It appears the backlight is not functional. But yeah, it shows the temperature, probably shows RPM. It has 3 temperature probes. You probably put those on your card. And yeah, it's kind of cute, actually. I kind of like this thing. It's probably a very simple microcontroller right there. Maybe there's another board. It looks like there's a board-to-board interconnect. And there are what looks like thermocouples right here that you would place under things. So you use these back in the day so you could be an enthusiast gamer, rad, RGB color. What? Okay, no RGB, but whatever. You know what I mean. But these days there are sensors everywhere inside computers, temperature sensors, fan speed sensors. You really just don't need stuff like this any longer. So yeah, there we go. Those are the things that Mark sent. Some of this stuff is useful to me, but some of this won't be, so I'll be either donating to Goodwill or donating it to other people I know who might find some of this stuff useful. Thank you for sending it in to Mail Call. Well, that's going to be it for this very long Mail Call video. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, but if you didn't, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs down button. Put your comments and your suggestions in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And Hit that bell icon if you want to be notified, maybe if Google decides to do it, which, yeah, I swear, they really never do it. And yeah, that's going to be it. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Oh, hey, you're still here and you're still watching. Hey, if you got this far in the video, put the word peanut in the comment section. Yeah, anyways, okay, bye for real.